They promised conquest. They promised Ukraine would fall in days. But here are the cold, brutal numbers. In 3 years of war, Russia has captured just 0.6% of Ukraine's land, an area barely bigger than Rhode Island. At its current pace, it would take Russia over 200 years and more than 100 million casualties to occupy the entire country. That's not a strategy, that's a fantasy. Russia's supposed lightning invasion turned into Europe's longest war since World War II, and Ukraine is still standing. But land is only part of the story. The real tragedy is human. Russia has suffered nearly 1 million casualties. Even conservative Western estimates put the number above 750,000. To compare, during its 10-year war in Afghanistan, Russia lost about 15,000 soldiers. This war has cost them 60 times more lives in just 3 years. And Russia was already facing a demographic crisis, a shrinking, aging population with not enough young men to fill the ranks. Now, nearly 1 million Russians have fled to avoid conscription. That's almost 2 million working-age men removed from Russia's future. Russia isn't just running out of soldiers, it's running out of people. On paper, Russia is still the world's 11th largest economy. But peel back the propaganda, and the truth is grim. Western sanctions have gutted its high-tech industries and crippled its banking system. The ruble has crashed, losing nearly a quarter of its value. And here's the most shocking part. 40% of Russia's government budget now goes to the war. Nearly half of the country's resources are being burned in the trenches of Ukraine. This is unsustainable. Every ruble spent on war is a ruble stolen from hospitals, schools, and families. And with Europe cutting off Russian gas, and China and India buying oil only at steep discounts, Moscow's lifeline is shrinking by the day. So how does Putin keep selling this disaster as a victory? Through illusion. He promised modern weapons like the T-14 Armata and Su-57 stealth fighters. In reality, tanks filled with sand instead of armor, fighter jets taping commercial GPS units to their dashboards, and Cold War relics like the T-62 being dragged to the front. He promised elite troops and swift victories. In reality, convicts, conscripts, and human wave attacks straight out of World War I. He promised to be welcomed as a liberator. In reality, Ukrainians met Russian troops with fire, not flowers. Russia's war machine wasn't exposed by NATO, it was exposed by its own corruption. So what now? Russia has 3 options. None are good. Escalate, even nuclear. But nukes don't solve the manpower crisis. They don't give Russia the people or resources it desperately needs. Withdraw. But pulling out would mean political collapse for Putin, whose regime depends on never losing. Peace deal, but Ukraine demands full sovereignty, while Russia demands recognition of its conquests. Neither side will budge. Russia is trapped. It cannot win, it will not quit, and it cannot negotiate. And in trying to conquer Ukraine, Russia may have destroyed itself. NATO is stronger than ever, expanding with Finland and Sweden. Poland is building the largest army in Europe. Germany is rearming. Russia wanted less NATO. Instead, it got more NATO right on its border. Diplomatically, Russia has gone from a feared global power to a pariah state clinging to China for survival. Economically, politically, militarily, Russia is weaker than it has been in decades, and whispers grow louder. Could Russia itself collapse under the weight of this war? So the next time someone says Russia is winning, remember this. 3 years into what was supposed to be a 3-day war, Russia controls only a fraction of Ukraine, has lost nearly 1 million soldiers, drained its economy, strengthened its enemies, and trapped itself in a disaster with no exit. This isn't victory. This is collapse in slow motion. And the longer the war continues, the more catastrophic the consequences will be, not just for Ukraine, but for Russia itself. So ask yourself, is Russia really winning, or is it destroying itself before the eyes of the world?